How's the weather over there?
Cold.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Everyone thinks Australia is this really hot place, but it isn't by the coast.
oh. Sorry to hear that.
Oh, that's all right.
Wow,
It's
what?
winter.
So, I see a couple of instruments in the back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's my vibraphone, and I could like this one, the vibraphone. I don't know if you can hear bass notes on the.
Oh, you're. What kind of microphone do you have on the computer? Just.
I'm just using the one in the on the computer. Yes.
Wow, it sounds great.
Oh, that's good.
I could actually get the overtone too.
Oh, that's good.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And the keyboard instrument in the back?
Oh, this one right here, or this one?
Oh, let's go both.
Oh, well, this is a reed organ I use a lot, and so that's all I get, like a reed organ. And then I got that's a retuned marimba here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans on coming to LA?
I'll be there actually probably in November.
Oh, really? To perform?
Well, the trouble is all my instruments are here, so it's so expensive to move instruments. I haven't quite figured out how to overcome that problem yet. You know.
Could you? So nobody else? No, I guess nobody else would have your tuning system here, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem.
How much would it cost to make one?
Well, it depends on which one I made, you know.
Right.
Probably if there was a decent hammered dulcimer around, I could play there.
Uh-huh.
But
that's not impossible, is it?
No. But and it has to be someone with a hammered dulcimer that'll let me retune it too.
Mm.
Sometimes people get, even though it causes no harm to the instrument, it's kind of like Cage with his prepared piano. Everyone feels like people think it's going to ruin the piano or something. Not that it ever does.
Are you originally from Los Angeles?
Yes, I was born in Montebello
Oh, no
in
kidding.
East LA. So,
Did you go?
but I grew up in Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
You know, like in the '50s, and then for I was in the Valley for a brief period, and then I was in Echo Park, like the
Wow.
early '70s. Yeah.
So you've traveled all over LA.
Yeah, yeah. It was one reason that I never felt like I had to move. I could just move to a different part of the city, and it was like being in a different place.
That's right.
At 17, I got a piano and a violin, and
Uh-huh.
so that's well, actually in high school I was actually playing blues harmonica,
Oh,
and so
really?
so I would just walk around with a little, and then as I it's because I didn't know how to drive, or I didn't really want to drive, so I would just, as I walked, I would just play harmonica everywhere as I walked.
Oh.
And so,
Where'd you get
but
the?
I think there's a lot of influence of the '60s music, just because it was so open as to to different directions, because it was probably the first generation where electronics became, and just the timbre of electronics, I think, really just kind of was, even though it was like rooted in this folk music, it's the sound spectrum wasn't. So I think there was all this innovation in timbre that I think probably so impressed all of us at that time, that we probably all like kind of like are all still, searching for those type of sounds, or that type of experience, I think.
That because I think your music, uh, that term of playing the room.
Yeah.
Your music really plays the room, and I'd be curious to maybe your top three best experiences of venues.
Let's see. I'm trying to. I always enjoyed playing this in Los Angeles. I always enjoyed playing the smell, because I always found that the smell was a good space, or at least I got used to it, playing there so much. I really knew what I could do in certain places, and it was always easy to do there,
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, like, I'm going to set up here, fine. No one makes a big deal. Whereas if you get a big venue, they expect you to be in a certain place. I go, well, I would sound better if I was over there.
Right.
But yeah, because I always worked in. I worked as a scenic artist, so I always worked on big sound stages for. So I got so even from like an early age, I was used to only working in big rooms, so I got very used to the acoustics of big rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I would have like an intuitive sense on where to put my instruments and stuff, even if I don't necessarily, could codify it, reasonably or something. I actually did a recording recently here in Melbourne, which is these, which I'm actually going to put on a recording of. They're called reverberation rooms, and they have a 12-second delay, and it's a 5-sided room with a slanted ceiling, so that no two walls are parallel. So even though it has a bounce, it doesn't. There's no. Yeah, I don't. And that was probably about one of the most amazing spaces. Yeah.
What's that called again?
It's called a reverberation room.
Oh, it's called the
And I guess it
reverberation.
was built in the '30s, and as an experiment. And actually there's one room, and it's attached to another room, so they could actually put like a sheet of fabric or something in between, or some material, to see how the sound in one room affects the sound in another room.
Oh.
I've done some playing with Chris Abrams of a band called the Necks. I don't know if you know them,
What are
or
they called?
trio. The Necks.
The next.
Stepping.
Oh, having moved to Australia, now you're closer to that Pacific Rim. Have you gone and traveled and heard some amazing music out there?
Yeah, I've been to Bali twice. Yeah, so that's been amazing both times.
Tell us about Bali.
Uh, well, let's see. What kind of there's it's such a tourism place. I mean, you go to the Denpasar or Kuta, and they're like horrible tourist traps. And then the first time I went to Ubud, there was quite a bit of still traditional stuff. But even I think it was like a 5-year gap of going, and even the last time I was there, I was starting to really get built up really big.
Wow. So
I think it's good. But it's kind of good because it's the gamelan and the culture that makes it it's still that makes it appeals to the tourists. So in a way, it kind of subsidizes it in a way. But then you get things like yoga retreats, things there, which really don't belong. You know what I mean? It's really, you know what I mean? It's the biggest group is Sudumani. You know that group, Sudumani?
No, tell me about them.
They're kind of like I think it was a group of some of the best Balinese composers all got together and formed their own gamelan, which actually tours through the world. A lot of times they've played at, I've seen them at Royce Hall, playing at World Music, Sacred Music Festival and things like that, So they're like the top-notch group. Both times I've been to Bali, they've been on tour. So I haven't.
You're continuing the shadow puppetry that you're working on in Australia?
Yes. I've only done one so far, whereas there I would do one every year, but I'm kind of still working it up. And right now I'm, in a visual arts department. And so I'm working on developing new shadow puppets and things like that. So I'm kind of, after like 12 years of doing shadow work, you kind of like wonder, well, where else can I take this? So I'm kind of taking a step back and rethinking it a little bit and working it back up. It allows all types of, allows yourself to express yourself in a more complete way than just standing there playing music in a way. Sing and act and, the stories were things that I would write, and I would make the puppets and design how the lighting was. So I found it that it really allowed every aspect of myself somewhere to be expressed, which I think was kind of like, which was Harry Partch's. Probably that idea comes from Harry Partch's idea of theater, of like a total theater, and where so I'm very much influenced by that. I think. I think that that was the thing about Partch. He wasn't as specialized as most people are. I think that the same thing happened with the, when Drummond had the instruments also. He had the original instruments in New York or New Jersey, and I think he ended up concentrating on the music also. But it would be great if if there was a more theatrical input in there. I think yeah.
Do you have people getting upset about working on microtones?
Well, I think I get the most resistance, which I still get, is the idea of doing microtones on original instruments. I think that's where people seem to be bothered. No one seems to be bothered with the idea of doing microtones on traditional orchestral instruments.
Okay.
But the idea of building instruments to play the tunings, there seems to be still quite a bit of resistance to this.
Why? I don't understand.
Well, I think in the classical world, the only thing that really makes something that you can call classical music, new classical music, is really the only thing that's really left is just the instruments, violins and flutes and things. If you take that away, that type of music doesn't really exist. So I think any threat to that, it's all about preserving the use of these instruments, I think, is really going on. But it's kind of silly because on Western instruments, unless you have like really superly trained performers, they're not gonna play exactly in tune, you know. Whereas on like in these instruments, I can tune up the pitch, and it's gonna be pretty closer than any player is going to be able to do, you know, because they're not trained in hearing these type of scales in this way, you know. So it's kind of a, but yeah, there's, you know, but you know, even here it's like, you know, someone wanted me to, they were trying to figure out some way where I could write something for a string orchestra in one of these tunings, and I just said, there's no way I could do it, but they're not going to play it in tune, you know. I mean, and half the players are just going to hate it, you know, are just going to hate the idea of having to retune their open, you know, strings, and, you know. And then I finally said, well, I could just, you know, I have my own instruments, I can just do it. And they looked at me like, why would you want to do that? You know, I mean, it was like kind of like that type of attitude. So I don't know. It's still, yeah, I don't really understand it either. It seems like the more instruments, the better. You know?
How is the support system in Australia?
Oh, there's quite a bit of support, actually.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah, it seems really good on that level.
Has it always been like that since you've been there, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was actually amazed at how much funding there was. Like even like small groups seem to have money to actually, you know, play performers. You know, I think I said, yeah, I think in the first year I made more money here than I did 20 years in Los Angeles.
Oh no.
But not much. I mean, but that wasn't hard, you know. So my wife's also a microtonal composer also.
Oh,
so.
No kidding.
Yeah, so she's yeah, she just got her PhD in on Irv Wilson's keyboards designs and mapping. So yeah, and pretty much the main music person in the music department here in Wollongong. So she has to go to conferences every once in a while just to, you know.
What's her name?
Just being an academic, you're kind of required to do these things, you know.
Sure.
So, yeah.
What's her name?
Terumi Norishima.
Is she? Is that how you guys met? Because of
yes, actually, yeah. There was a micro. There was a big microtonal conference in 2001 in Pomona, put on by Bill Albus. You know, Pomona. You know him.
I don't know.
Yeah, an interesting composer. He writes things for Gamelan, and he's an expert on Lou Harrison's work. He'd be a good person to talk. He does a lot of work in C sound and video work and stuff like that. But so he had organized that, and so she had come over with two other composers from Australia and we met there. And then in 2007, after my last shadow play, she had actually came and saw that because she happened to be passing through the city. So that's how I ended up moving here. Yeah.
Have you seen the new film on Lou Harrison? You just mentioned Lou Harrison.
No, I haven't seen the film. I know the woman a little bit. You know, I've met her a few times, but yeah.
Eva Soltis.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's into dance.
Yeah, I think
Indian
she had danced all this to a lot of blues pieces, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. No, I met her by accident up in San Francisco one time because I was playing at this place and then asked where to go eat, and they recommended this sushi place, and I go in there, and she was the only other person there sitting at the counter, and so I just ended up sitting down next to her, and like, you know, in 3 minutes, you know Lou Harrison too, and you know, so it's kind of funny that would happen, you know.
Oh, did you get
just out of the blue? Yeah.
Did you know Lou Harrison?
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
Oh, what was he like?
Oh, a sweet, generous man, you know. Yeah. Yeah, wonderful person, I don't think.